The Arasari Empire didn't march, they glided. On the stone steps of Harzan Ivy's captured capital, High Talon Karival Sorn spread his cerulean wings in imperial display. The jungle heat shimmered off his polished armor, reflecting the gold crest of command on his chest plate. Behind him, 1,000 troops stood in crisp formation, their armor humming faintly with psionic sync pulses. Above, drones buzzed, recording every moment for imperial propaganda. Our enemy, Karival announced, voice projecting through the valley. Hides in mud and foliage, clutching projectile weapons like cave beasts. The troops chuckled in perfect synchronicity. Ceremonial. Let them skulk. Let them dream of resistance. We will extinguish their defiance by week's end. Thunderous cheers. Not one of them had ever fought a Terran. 2 kilometers out, Mason Calder lay prone beneath a tangle of moss and camouflage netting. Through his scope, he watched the entire charade. No wasted movement. No sound. Just breath, heartbeat, and glass. Karival had a perfect kill angle. Mason adjusted the elevation dial by half a click. Wind 3.4 meters per second cross. Gravity fluctuating slightly. Harzan's magnetosphere was unstable. He didn't fire. Not yet. The shot would end a mouthpiece. Mason wasn't after symbols. He wanted impact. His fingers slid off the trigger. Instead, he panned left, scanning for logistics officers, signal corps leaders, or PSYOPs tacticians. It was recon day, not justice. His earpiece crackled faintly. Raven, this is Ghost. You seeing this circus? The voice was Lieutenant Danny Rourke, his spotter. She was 20 clicks west, riding high on an abandoned comms tower. Affirm, Mason whispered. They like their feathers polished. Permission to mock the Empire in my report? Granted. Just keep it subtle. Below, Karival concluded his speech. The formation broke. Officers dispersed. One, a thinner Arasari with a data sash, moved to a shaded vehicle surrounded by 2 guards. Mason snapped a quick range check, 1,830 meters. He marked him, probable supply coordinator. Got one, he said. Marking Officer V, moving northeast guarded. Tag received. Want a shot? Negative. Clocking patterns. He let the man leave. Patience was a sniper's true weapon. It broke empires faster than bullets. Later that night, nestled in the ruins of an overgrown observation post, Mason reviewed his recordings. The Empire hadn't changed since Europa. Flashy, confident, overstretched. And always underestimating Earth-born warfighters. He adjusted his gear, running silent diagnostics on the rail rifle. The old thing hummed like a relic, but it was reliable, more so than the auto-targeting systems the brass kept trying to push. He preferred analog. Muscle memory. Control. His hand drifted to the bullet casing hanging from his neck, inscribed with tiny etched lines. Each one a kill. Each one earned, not sprayed. His eyes closed for a moment. Just a moment. And then memory. He was back in that cold diplomatic tent on Novik Prime, his commander, Rel, standing firm, palms up, unarmed. We want peace, Rel had said. You won't win hearts with plasma. The Arasari liaison, unreadable behind a reflective mask, clicked his beak once and gave the order. The flash. The screams. Blood soaking into polymer floors. Mason had pulled 3 survivors out. Rel wasn't one of them. He snapped out of the memory with a clenched jaw. That was the day he stopped being a soldier and became something else, something slower, quieter, more precise. A hunter. By morning, Mason was gone from the outpost. Tracks covered. Biosign dampers engaged. He moved like shadow across root-choked ravines and vine-strangled cliffs. Above, jungle birds shrieked warnings to each other. A natural alarm system, one he'd learned to read better than most maps. His HUD blinked with a priority alert. Recon sweep gone dark, Sector B12. Danny's voice came through, clipped. Last ping was a junior lieutenant leading a patrol near the river delta. Mason halted. That was the same area the logistics officer had headed toward. Sounds like someone wandered into the wrong neighborhood. Command says stand down. Wait for confirmation. He closed his eyes. This war had too many delays. Paper pushers with clean hands hesitating while boots bled. I'm 10 clicks out. I'll take a look. No reply. That meant yes. He found the bodies an hour later. 3 Arisari. No wounds. No signs of struggle. Just collapsed, like marionettes with strings cut. A 4th, the lieutenant, lay with his helmet split from the inside. Blood pooled beneath his head. Mason crouched. No energy burns. No blades. Just death. Confirmed, he said into the mic. Something killed an Arisari patrol, and it wasn't us. Silence. Danny? Still nothing. He switched channels. Static. Either interference or jamming. He marked the coordinates and moved. Fast. Back at the capital, High Talon Karival frowned as a report was read aloud. Lieutenant Solanar and his team failed to return from their sweep. Drone telemetry ends abruptly. Ambush? Karival asked. Unlikely. No signs of human tech. We believe they were taken by one of the native predators. Karival chuckled. These humans bring swords to our symphony. Now they lose to plants and beasts. Let them rot in their trees. The aide hesitated. One of the dead was Solanar, sir. He had 6 commendations. Karival's eyes narrowed. Double patrols. No one moves without overwatch. I won't be embarrassed by rodents. He dismissed the aide with a flick of his talon. But behind the arrogance, something cold coiled in his gut. Rodents didn't kill silently. They didn't erase whole patrols without warning. Something else was watching. Something that knew how to aim. Dawn broke hard over Harzan 4. Clouds bruised the sky. The jungle steamed, damp with the breath of predators. Somewhere far below the canopy, Mason Calder waited, cloaked in thermal netting and patience. He had eyes on the target. Imperial Officer Valek, the supply chain node Mason had tracked the day before, emerged from a prefabricated structure surrounded by equipment crates and underpaid guards. The Arisari looked agitated, pacing, tapping his talons together, muttering into a wrist link. Mason followed his every twitch through the scope. Range, 1,420 meters. Slight uphill shot. Crosswind steady. A perfect equation. He exhaled slow. Let his pulse find its rhythm. Time stretched. Then, Valek paused beneath a comms relay and adjusted his helmet. 2 guards turned their backs. Mason squeezed. The rail rifle coughed once. Valek's head snapped back. His body followed a half-second later. Clean exit, no splash. The guards didn't move. Not at first. It took them 3 whole seconds to realize the blood had started pooling. By then, Mason was gone, crawling downslope under foliage like a ghost with a rifle. 1 shot. 1 message. Officer Valek is dead. The aide stammered, antennae twitching. Sniper. We confirmed the angle of impact. No visual, no sound. Just gone. Karival Sorn stood before a holomap, wings half open in irritation. Terran weapons are incapable of bypassing our shield lattice. Unless they're not aiming for shields. The aide offered. This was a projectile, not plasma. Primitive. Karival scoffed. Desperation tactics. Someone's playing hero in the trees. He turned sharp-eyed. Send scout drones. Sweep the northern ridges. And feed this to the court as an isolated guerrilla nuisance. Yes, High Talon. Karival's claws tapped a slow rhythm on his gauntlet. 1 dead officer wasn't a war. But something in the execution nagged at him. Clean. Surgical. No fear. No haste. It wasn't a resistance cell. It was a marksman. Mason watched the fallout from a treetop, chewing on a nutrient strip that tasted like glue and regret. He'd climbed 50 meters for a clean drone view, masking his heat signature under the leaves. Arisari soldiers flooded the clearing where Valek had died. They moved like wasps, probing, agitated, aggressive. I stirred the nest, he muttered. His comms flickered. Ghost, it's Raven. You just became famous. Danny's voice was low but amused. They've got PSYOPs broadcasts playing on a loop. Stuff like lay down your weapons, you are not forgotten and honor awaits the compliant. Think they're trying to flush you out. Let 'em talk, Mason said. They haven't even seen the message. What message? He slid a photo across their shared channel. A single spent casing, polished, left behind where Valek's body fell. It had one word etched on the base, watching. Danny chuckled. You're dramatic. I'm deliberate. A pause. Then, there's chatter about a secondary officer en route to the same sector, command logistics. More high-value meat. Coordinates? Uploading now. But Mason, they're sending hunters. He stilled. Whisper Talons? Looks like. Armor's light, psych trace specialists. These ones don't march. They stalk. Noted. He paused. You still think this is worth it? Danny was silent for a breath. Then, if you make them bleed, they'll remember Earth's not a footnote. That was enough. That night, Mason tracked the new officers' convoy through dense brush and steep elevation shifts. They moved slow, shielded, scanning constantly. No clear shot. He let them pass, then doubled back. If they were scanning ahead, they'd expect an ambush. He gave them silence instead. He looped behind them, found the uplink trailer. 2 techs. Minimal guard presence. Everyone was too focused on the jungle ahead. He crept forward, boots silent on wet stone. No noise. No light. 1 suppressed shot. 2 bodies down. He retrieved a data chip from the uplink console. Crude. But it gave him everything: names, supply maps, patrol schedules. Perfect. As he retreated, he left another casing. This one read, Remember. Karival reviewed the footage through clenched teeth. Not of the kills, there was none. Just aftermath. Empty shells, dead officers, confusion. They used bullet casings as calling cards? He hissed. They're symbolic, sir. I know what they are, he snapped. This is not warfare. This is taunting. It's subversion. He paced, feathers bristling. Bring me results, or bring me bodies. This ends now. Behind him, a junior analyst whispered. He's making us look weak. And Karival heard it. By dawn, the Empire retaliated. Civilian roundups. Random structure razings. Anyone near the sniper zones was branded a collaborator. Mason saw it all from afar. One of the transports dragged a girl by the arm. Couldn't have been older than 10. Her leg was bleeding. She kept looking back over her shoulder, toward the trees. He exhaled slowly, steadying himself. His finger hovered on the trigger. No, he whispered. Not yet. He followed the transport, marked its direction, mapped its route. That was the cost of precision. 1 bullet couldn't stop a truck. But the right one could end the driver, force it to crash, and scatter its escort. But not today. He had other work. His HUD pinged. Danny again. They're moving command, she said. Pulling out of the capital. Word is they're building a mobile base in the Iron Spine Canyon. Arrogant, Mason muttered. Or scared. He stared out at the dark ridge line on the horizon. A new battlefield. More pressure. More eyes. Exactly where he wanted them. He started moving. 1 kill at a time. The Iron Spine Canyon had a pulse. It throbbed with power conduits, humming sensor towers, and armored convoys that crawled like metal centipedes through its narrow veins. The Empire's mobile command base, an angular monstrosity of alloy and arrogance, sat nestled between jagged cliffs, shielded from orbital scans. It bristled with turrets and signal jammers. A fortress born of paranoia. Mason crouched on a ledge above it all, cloaked in thermal fog and silence. He'd been watching for 2 days. Sleep in 10-minute snatches, hydration through a drip tube. He didn't blink much anymore. Place is crawling, Danny whispered in his earpiece. Like they know something's coming. They do. You. Below, Arisari officers barked in shrill tones. Supply lines were rerouted. Guard rotations doubled. Mason noted a single high-security tent, same spot every night, different officer entering, same one leaving. Routine bred weakness. Predictability. And eventually, opportunity. Tonight it came. The high-value officer, Gavril, according to intercepted logs, entered the tent at 0200. Alone. No escort inside. Standard procedure. Mason steadied his rifle. Elevation, 230 meters. Range, 1210. No wind. Gravity baseline. One breath in. He fired. The round pierced the tent wall and Gavril's skull in the same second. No explosion. No flash. Just a slump of movement and a new red stain on the canvas. He was gone before the alarm even registered. Gavril is dead, the aide announced, tight-voiced. Kareevil stared at the bloody tent on the security feed. That's 4, he said. 4 officers, all precision hits, no shooter seen. No trace. No pattern. There is a pattern, the aide interrupted. Kareevil's gaze turned cold. Explain. The sniper doesn't strike randomly. Every kill disrupts something: logistics, command structure, morale. This isn't rage. It's surgical. Kareevil's wings tightened against his back. Then it's time we cut back. He tapped a control. Deploy the Whisper Talons. Tell them to hunt. The Whisper Talons dropped from the sky on silent gliders. 6 Arisari elite, stripped of armor plating, laced with psionic augmentation, equipped with cloaking tech and sensory overlays tuned to track heartbeats through jungle density. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. They only hunted. Mason felt them before he saw them. A tension in the air. A shift in the rhythm of the forest. They were tracking him. Good. He left breadcrumbs, barely enough to notice: a snapped vine, a faint heat signature near a false blind, a strip of cloth smeared with animal blood. Then he led them into the kill zone. A ravine choked with fog and resonance scatter. Perfect acoustics for echoes. Terrible for psionics. He used an old trick, placed a heartbeat simulator in one bush, a heat decoy in another. Then he waited. The first Whisper Talon approached cautiously. His cloak flickered. Mason fired. One down. The others moved fast, triangulating. Mason rolled left, vanished into the mist, climbed a slope he'd pre-marked with quiet steps. He took out the second with a tripwire and gravity mine. No sound, just a sudden absence. 2 left tried flanking. He drew them into a shallow basin, rigged with sonic dampeners. The third fell to a bullet. The fourth, he let go. Deliberately. Let the Talon crawl back to base with one wing torn and a story to tell. Let them know the jungle belonged to him now. You failed. Kareevil growled as the wounded Whisper Talon kneeled before him, bleeding, one eye clouded with black. The Talon didn't speak. He just laid a blood-streaked casing at Kareevil's feet. Etched into the brass, close enough. Kareevil's fury was absolute. Enough of this game, he hissed. Bring me bait. Make the sniper come to us. Danny's signal came in broken and low. Mason, it's bad. They grabbed Rourke. Static crackled. They're using her. He froze. How? Tracking implants. Neural sync pulses. They want you to come get her. Where? Sector Theta 7. Old comms site. They've rigged it with scanners, dampers, all of it. She coughed. They're betting you'll come. He stared across the canopy. His hands clenched slowly. They're right. Night fell like a dropped curtain. Mason moved through it like a ghost through smoke. No rifle this time. Just a suppressed sidearm, a combat knife, and a satchel of shaped charges. He reached the perimeter unseen. Arisari guards watched lazily from raised towers, bored. That was their mistake. He slipped inside, disabling sensors with homemade jammers. Danny was inside, tied to a gurney, pale, blood on her face but alert. She turned her head as he approached. Her whisper was dry. "Idiot! You look like hell. I feel like hell." He cut her loose. She grabbed his arm. "Trap. I know." And it sprung. Two Arisari lunged from the shadows. Mason dropped one with a double tap. The second slashed at his ribs. Pain bloomed, white hot, but he twisted, drove his knife through the alien's throat. He dragged Danny out under a hail of confused plasma fire, charges going off behind them in controlled bursts. Smoke. Panic. Confusion. They vanished into the trees. Hours later, beneath a canopy of stars, Danny lay with her back against a moss-covered stone, breathing hard. "You're bleeding," she said. Mason glanced at his side. "I've had worse." She smiled faintly. "This still worth it?" He didn't answer right away. Then, "Karival's not sleeping anymore. That's worth something." She laughed, weak but real. "Still think one man can win a war?" "No," he said. "But I can break one." He reached into his vest, pulled out a fresh casing, and etched a word into it with his knife. Soon. Storms rolled in low and heavy over the canyon. Rain fell sideways, bouncing off leaves and rock with a hiss. Lightning licked the sky, brief white flashes that turned trees into skeletons. Mason lay prone on a wind-battered cliff, soaked, heartbeat steady. A camouflage tarp rippled around him. His rifle, patched and cleaned, rested on a bipod carved into the stone. Across the gorge, 3,000 meters away, sat the spire, Karival's final bastion. The command tower pierced the clouds like a needle. Shielded glass. Reinforced alas. Impenetrable by most standards. But not to one bullet, one carefully calculated shot. Danny knelt beside him, breath shallow, face drawn but alert. "You sure this is possible?" "No." She smirked. "Good. For a second I thought you were sane." He checked his rifle one last time. Gravity had shifted again. Harzan's magnetic poles were tilting in response to the storm. That meant air density, drop, and curvature were all unstable. His window was 30 seconds, maybe less. Inside that spire, High Talon Karival prepared for his final address, one to be broadcast to the entire sector. His armor gleamed. His feathers were oiled. A performance meant to mask fear. "Begin transmission," he ordered. Cameras activated. Holograms hummed. "Citizens of the Empire. Today marks the turning point in our Harzan campaign. The human resistance is finished. The sniper, this ghost you've feared, is gone." Mason adjusted elevation by 0.6 mils. Rangefinder clicked. Crosswind veered, but he corrected. Breath slow. "Left shift coming," Danny said, reading the air. "Now." He squeezed. The round screamed across space, cutting rain, wind, pressure. A lightning bolt flashed mid-flight, for one brief instant illuminating its arc. The bullet hit the spire's glass with a silent crack. Karival's head snapped back. His body slumped forward, feathers collapsing like a broken parasol. Panic erupted. The feed went dead. Inside the jungle, Danny exhaled. "You did it." "No," Mason said, watching through his scope. We did. He pulled back the bolt, caught the casing, and slid it into his pocket. No engraving. No need for a message. The work was done. 3 hours later, broadcasts lit up the human resistance bands. Grainy footage showed Karival mid-speech, frozen in his final moment. His final words, asterisk, "The sniper is gone," asterisk, echoed like prophecy turned joke. Empire forces began retreating within the day. Supply lines faltered. Orders clashed. Morale shattered. A single bullet had broken the illusion of control. Mason sat beside a field beacon, bandaged and quiet. Danny was asleep, or close to it. The storm had passed, leaving the jungle hushed, like it was listening. A voice crackled through the calm. "Sniper Team Ghost, this is UDC Command. Confirming receipt of your footage. Excellent work. Extraction inbound in 30. He clicked the mic. Copy. Pause. You're being reassigned after med-evac. High Command wants you Earthside. They're calling you a symbol. Mason stared at the jungle. I'm not a symbol. Well, the voice returned. Too late. The dropship arrived without ceremony, just heat, dust, and a low hum. Mason helped Danny inside, her arm over his shoulder. She mumbled something he couldn't hear, maybe didn't need to. He looked back once before boarding. Trees swayed. Rain began again. Somewhere out there, feathers still rotted in the mud. He climbed aboard. The hatch shut. And Harzan 4, for the first time in weeks, was quiet.